What's poppin', my Daredevils? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoiler Show, y'all. This is going to be a breakdown of episode 3 of Daredevil Born Again. So, if you haven't seen this episode, just know that there will be spoilers ahead. And trust me, you're going to want to go into this one blind. No pun intended. So, let's get into the super intense episode, shall we? Much like the last episode, this episode centers around the White Tiger, Hector Ayala, once again, as Matt Murdock faces off against District Attorney Benjamin Hochberg to determine whether or not Hector Ayala of his life in prison. We start with Hector and Matt having a chat in his cell.
Yeah, that
And during
lawyer
their
man,
conversation,
not feeling
Hector
him
brings up
one
his
bit.
favorite beach in Puerto Rico and how he believes that it's a slice of heaven on earth, especially the sounds of the coqui frogs that he says don't croak but instead sing to their mate.
Man, those poor frogs, man. Like I said earlier, at the end of the episode, like, and I don't really do that a ton, but that got me a little choked up. And I mean, and it was a character who you don't really know a ton about, but I felt like I came to know at least enough of White Tiger that I cared about the character. And to hear those frogs at the end of the episode, man, that hurt me. That hurt me knowing that he wasn't going to be able to see him again or hear him again.
Mates, who they mate with for life. The name Koki was literally named after the sound that these Koki frogs make, almost like a freaking Pokemon. And we hear a solemn chorus of Koki at the end of the episode when Hector is unfortunately shot on the side of the dome by a man donning the iconic skull logo
Not
of
the real
Jon
Punisher, I
Bernthal's
guarantee
Punisher.
it.
And I love how they added this sound cue at the end of the episode for a number of reasons. Firstly, it matches up with what Hector said about these frogs not croaking but singing. Because even though one could say that Hector himself croaked when he was assassinated in cold blood, the song that these frogs play at the end of this episode indicates to me that his actual soul is singing along with these Koki frogs in his own personal MCU afterlife. Because that's how we've seen afterlives work in the MCU so far. They all typically manifest as the place that the dead person believes in the most. Like how Rocket Raccoon's afterlife was a manifestation of him being in a beautiful
Speaking of which, man, that that made me sad too. Like, I don't know what it is about that 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 scene in that movie, and having Rocket with the little animals. I think that's what it is. I just got a soft spot for the animals. So, yeah, they if they want to tug at the heartstrings, all they got to do is show some animals being mistreated or see them going through a struggle, and you got me reeled in and completely empathetic for that character.
Forever Sky with his friends, or how Mark Spector's belief in Khonshu conjured up the Field of Reeds in his afterlife, or even how Jane Foster was brought to the gates.
Moon Knight, good show, not a great show. I want more. I feel like they kind of left us hanging a little bit, and that show could be so much more than what it was. They could really lean into a lot of the horror elements in that show, and they didn't. So I'm hoping that this new leaf, this sort of R-rated leaf that Marvel has turned over, that they will really, really lean into the horror and the dark elements of Moon Knight if we get a season 2.
To Valhalla when she passed, due to her own belief in her own heroism and in Norse mythology. Even the alien Kree have their own afterlife in the form of the Supreme Intelligence.
We're not even gonna talk about Thor Ragnarok. I mean, not Ragnarok. Thor, whatever the third Thor movie was. Oh man, I can't think of what it is right now. But anyway, yeah, did not feel that. I feel like they leaned way too far into the comedy elements of the Thor movies and just was not hidden. Wasn't hidden.
Simply because they were taught to believe that this is where they will rest peacefully when they die. Well, before the Supreme Intelligence was murdered by Captain
Captain
Marvel
Marvel was a
anyway.
good
But
flick.
whether or not a person is religious, in the MCU they will typically end up spending their afterlife where they would like to the most. And so this episode's cut from Hector's death to the sound of these Koki frogs feels like we were listening to the song that Hector is listening to in his afterlife. An afterlife where he gets to sit on a beautiful Puerto Rican beach and enjoy the view forever with all of his ancestors who once did the same. Which is why Matt saying the following to Hector at the start of this episode is particularly prophetic.
You're gonna see that beach again, Hector. I promise.
Hmm.
And you'll be reunited with your family.
And of course,
Yeah,
the thought
he
of
promised
Hector
he was gonna see it. All right, he kind of delivered him to that beach in a way that he probably didn't want to go too.
resting in peace is a very welcome one, considering that actor Camar de los Reyes would lose his battle to cancer on Christmas Eve 2023, not long after shooting this series. So may he to rest in perfect peace. He was a
Yeah, which is crazy, man. Like, you know, to have the actual actor pass away as well. Um, yeah, that's too bad. And you can tell that he kind of looked a little thin and a little sick during the episode, or the 3 episodes that we've seen thus far. So man, my heart definitely goes out to him and his family. That's really too bad. I like that he left a very good legacy for the character, even though he had a limited time portraying him.
fantastic actor who put in a phenomenal performance in this episode. Then, after the intro, two gangsters get murked in the night by two other gangsters while delivering a shipment in a truck, leading to tense relations between gang leaders and both Wilson and Vanessa Fisk later on. And after this, we get another man on the street segment with BB Urich. And she talks to an older man who mentions that he always keeps his piece on him and isn't afraid to press that piece
What do
against
you guys
anyone's
think
head.
of these BB report vignettes that we get? I think they're good. They're good for exposition. I don't um I like her past with her uncle being on the show previously. But yeah, I think that it serves a decent purpose. It's an interesting way of storytelling that we haven't really seen a ton of as far as Marvel is concerned. So I'll take it. I'll take it.
Head should they invade his privacy. More foreshadowing towards Hector's fate towards the end of the episode, as he too would end up taking a bullet to the side of the head for invading the privacy of some corrupt cops. And also because Matt would invade his own privacy by exposing him as the White Tiger later on. Then we cut to Wilson and Vanessa having an awkward meal together. Vanessa tells Wilson that all this gang violence between families is happening.
Yeah, the Wilson and Vanessa relationship is, man, I wouldn't even call it rocky. What's worse than rocky? It is on life support, I would say. Like the chemistry that they used to have is completely gone right now. There's gonna have to be something to like reignite the flame that they have, because the way that they disagree currently on business, it has definitely bled into their relationship, and it is not a good look for them right now.
Purely because neither of them are around to maintain order. But Wilson merely tells her that his days of getting involved in beef like that is over, as indicated by his knuckles that are apparently slowly healing throughout the course of the series, showing that Wilson has not had to beat the soul out of anybody in a long ass time.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought that they showed a great contrast with Matt having his knuckles and arms and stuff bruised up from his fight that he had too. So both of them are living double lives. I don't think the way they talked about it was like his scars were healing. I feel like those scars that he had, that Kingpin had on his knuckles, are fresh, and that he's doing some stuff behind the scenes to relieve that anger that he has built up inside of him. And he doesn't want to let on that he's doing that, but I think that that's what's happening. I disagree a little bit with what they were saying, that those scars were healing up. Like, nah. Him and Matt, two different sides of the same coin.
A little bit later after this, we see Cherry taking a visit to the safe house where he and Nat stashed Nikki Torres so he could ideally testify about how Hector was actually helping him from getting beat down by Officer Powell and his friend, Officer Roadkill. And when Cherry goes to enter the safe house, he walks past a Punisher logo spray painted on the wall with the word triggered on the forehead, further demonstrating the
Triggered.
growing movement of corrupt cops taking inspiration from Frank Castle's radical and vengeful lifestyle. Then heading
I think we need to get some Punisher in this episode. Like that has to happen. That has to happen in this episode. Like he's got to make an appearance.
inside, Cherry gives Nikki some emergency sports candy to keep him going. And when he does, we can hear the Slayer song Cryonics playing in the background. And speaking of Nikki, after Officer Black Eyes tells some white lies through his broken teeth, Matt Murdock directly asks him if he was at the subway to meet with Nikki for some street information, which Officer Powell denies.
If you are watching right now, we're doing a little bit of a recap for Daredevil Born Again episode 3 as we get ready to watch Daredevil Born Again episode 4. So please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below. And in the words of Arnold,
come on. Do it. Come on, do it now!
yes, you heard him. Do it now.
But the mention of Nikki's name causes one of the cops in the audience to order Nikki's immediate execution so he can't testify. And on that cop's neck is another Punisher skull with an American flag on its forehead this time, indicating how this group of Punisher-inspired extremists are fueled by a warped and misplaced sense of radical patriotism, something that we are seeing in real life today. And in order to transport Torres to the courtroom safely, Cherry throws on the typical disguise of an incognito
I
MCU
knew
character,
that this
a
was going to
baseball
be
cap,
okay,
with Cherry
because they
favoring the New
always
York
set
Mets
up
because
different things
it's
like
not
this, and
always
you
about
you
the
got him
movies,
following
but
him
the
around, and lo and behold, he's
Mets,
not
baby,
actually in
love
the
the
vehicle.
Mets.
So
All right,
I knew
baby,
that
let's
was
go.
coming.
Get a
I
home
knew
run,
that
baby,
was
love the
coming.
Mets. Let's go Mets.
But Officer Powell sees right through Cherry's brilliant disguise and pulls his van over. But my boy Cherry is too damn nice and pulls a switcheroo with a taxi, allowing for Nikki to get to the court
Don't mind my
unharmed. But
dogs.
unfortunately, Nikki would make things more sticky for Hector's case when he lies about his connections to Officer Powell and the police department after feeling intense intimidation. This then leads Hector to taking the stand himself to be questioned by his lawyer. And when he speaks, he mentions that he lives with his wife, Soledad Ayala, and his niece, with this niece likely being named Angela Del Toro, just like she is in the comic books. And like I mentioned in last week's breakdown, Hector's niece, Angela Del Toro, ends up becoming Marvel Comics' second White Tiger after Hector's death. But Angela
So yeah, you know at some point in the future we're gonna get the second version of White Tiger, and we will have already seen her, basically part of her origin story through this Daredevil show. So like I feel like that's cool. I wonder if they're gonna go all the way like Young Avengers slash Champions route with her, or if she's just gonna be a a minor character that features later down the line. But it's cool that they at least sowed those seeds already.
would unfortunately take a bit of a villainous turn, and the White Tiger amulet would end up getting passed to Angela's aunt slash Hector's sister, Ava Ayala, who currently holds the White Tiger mantle in the comics today. The actress playing Hector's niece in this episode looks fairly young, so there's a good chance that we might see her become a part of whatever Young Avengers or Champions team that Kevin Feige is
It's
cutting
always so
up
funny
with
when we
royal
watch these
news like
videos and I
Kamala
say
Khan,
something,
Kate
and then
Bishop,
like 2
and
seconds later they
Effie
say the
Lang.
same
But
thing.
anyways, feeling like he had no other choice, Matt decides to whip out Hector's White Tiger mask in front of everybody and reveal Hector's secret life as a
So yeah, as you were watching it, did you think that the White Tiger reveal was a good thing or a bad thing? Like I felt like it was a Hail Mary in order to win the case, but it was something that definitely was a nail in the coffin for White Tiger, or at least Hector Ayala's version of White Tiger, in actual reality. So yeah, they won the case, but it did not turn out well in the end.
masked vigilante, an incredibly risky move that would ultimately cost Hector his life at the end of the episode. This, of course, pisses off the judge and the DA, as Matt
Did
had
not like the
previously
judge either,
demanded
man.
that
Was
Hector's
not feeling
life
that
as
dude.
White Tiger be completely omitted from the case. And later that night, Matt and Hector chat in Hector's cell, and Matt tells him that if they should win, Hector's days as White Tiger would be over due to Kingpin's growing war on masked vigilantes. And yet, Hector responds by saying that being White Tiger isn't just a secret identity to him, but a supernatural calling and who he actually is on the inside. Again, echoing the relationship between MCU gods and their human avatars. Much like how T'Challa and Shuri are one with
Khonshu.
Bast, the Panther god, Mark Spector is one with Khonshu, and Jane Foster literally became Thor. And with this new White Tiger revelation having come to light, the next day in court saw White Tiger's heroic accomplishments take center stage. And while listing off different police officers that Hector has helped as White Tiger, one of the names that pops up is an Officer Morales, a huge potential nod towards the father of Spider-Man.
Yeah, I picked
Miles
that up
Morales,
immediately
Officer
as
Jefferson
soon as I
Morales.
saw
And we
them.
already know that the
As soon as they
Morales
said the
family
last
has
name
canonically
Morales and
existed in
Officer
the
Morales, I
MCU
was like,
since
oh
Donald Glover
man,
made a cameo
Easter egg,
in
Easter egg, Easter
2017's
egg right
Spider-Man
there.
Homecoming as Miles Morales' uncle Aaron Davis before appearing again as the Prowler in a Spider Army anomaly prison cell in 2023's Across the Spider-Verse. So, if this is another tease towards Miles' family, it might be a sign that we could be seeing Miles Morales himself pop up in the MCU really soon, maybe in the upcoming Spider-Man 4. And other officers mentioned
Now
during
that'd be
this
cool.
moment are
I
Officer
I don't know who they would cast. There's been constant rumors about them casting Miles Morales. I don't really have too many suggestions on that. I know the young man from Stranger Things A lot of people have fantasy casted him in that role. I honestly think at this point they might have to go with somebody a little bit younger than that. So it'll be interesting to see who they actually run with as far as that's concerned, because Miles is coming. They have to be building towards that.
Officer Grant and an Officer Wong. And while it is somewhat unlikely, there is a chance that these two could link to other Marvel Comics police officers. Like, for example, Officer Grant could be referencing the Marvel character Marie Grant, a former police officer who would be mutated by Nick Fury to become the tiger-themed Tigra of the Ultimate Universe. And Officer Wong might be referencing the character of Jillian Wong, who would end up becoming a member of the Punisher's
Now, I did not catch all those
in
references.
Spider-Man 29's universe, but that's super far-fetched. But then Matt brings up to the jury how Hector specifically was not wearing his costume or his magical amulet during the night of the incident, and how no one in their right mind would go fight crime with.
I thought it was interesting that they even mentioned the amulet. Like, I didn't know that that was like common knowledge, that there was sort of like magical powers associated with White Tiger. So yeah, that was interesting. I didn't think that they would go that route. Or at least I thought he was going to be more grounded, at least currently. And then later on down the line, maybe once they got into another version of White Tiger, they would break out the whole situation with the amulet and how it gives them powers. But yeah, no, they dove right into it and they said it like it was just nothing and that it was common knowledge. So that was interesting.
With one hand behind their back, specifically saying that he himself would not do so if he was a superhero, which we all know is a bold-faced lie considering that he literally fought crime without the use of his eyeballs for years, like some sort of daredevil or something. But anyways, this tactic ends up working on the jury, and Hector Ayala is found innocent. And as he exits the courtroom, one of the reporters tells Matt that Mayor Fisk himself is calling Hector and all vigilantes in general cop killers on the news. An irresponsible and dangerous quote from a political figure that could motivate the most radical members of his base into violent action, and rhetoric that Fisk would also echo to BB Urich.
Motivating people into action, huh? I mean, that's politics 101. I think it's very familiar to a lot of people who follow current politics, that you can have a leader who is able to rally the troops, so to speak. And yeah, we're not going to get into all that, but we definitely can relate. Let's just say we can relate to that right now.
At the very end of the episode. But after his victory, Matt would celebrate back at his apartment with his girlfriend Heather, as the two share a bottle of Old Mulvaney's.
Makes me nervous about Heather. Like, I feel like he's attached to her. I feel like she being involved with Fisk is dangerous. And I don't think that she's revealed that to Matt yet. So I know that he's going to have a problem with that once he realizes that she is one of the people who is providing therapy for Wilson Fisk. Tommy, what's up, man?
Foggy's honor, the same brand of alcohol that Foggy mentioned.
Yo, hit that like button, please.
The bar to Kirsten before he got plugged by Poindexter. And Heather herself has had quite a busy few days as well, as she has had to do marriage counseling for Wilson and Vanessa Fisk, who are struggling hardcore in the communication department. Wilson gets Vanessa to confess that she sent Buck Cashman to pay restitution to one of the gangs for the hijacking at the start of the episode, purely just to keep the peace. However, Wilson would tell her that sometimes chaos needs to reign for a while in order for order to come. A slight
Yeah, I
shout
don't
out
know
to the
about that, man.
cosmic
That's
Marvel
interesting.
entities.
That's an interesting way to think about it. Do you want to create the chaos so that the order will eventually come from there, or do you want to create so much chaos that then you can sweep in and create order? I think those are two solid strategies. It's not something that I would do, but those are two definite solid strategies in order to bring about a resolution where Kingpin is the one who is the biggest part of that resolution.
Lord Chaos and Master Order, who maintain the chaos and order of the Marvel Universe. And this isn't the first time that Marvel would do this, as Vision himself would talk of the relationship between Order and Chaos, the Ultron, at the end of Age of Ultron as well.
Humans are odd. They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be.
Also, notice how Ultron's face is designed during this scene, specifically designed, in my opinion, to look like the distorted left side of Lord Chaos's face in the comics. But anyways, when Buck Cashman is done doing business with the gang leaders, he tells them that he doesn't work for Fisk at all, but instead for the Man, likely meaning the...
All right, we getting close. I mean, I think everybody is pretty pretty well warmed up for the 4th episode of Daredevil Born Again. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in and checking it out. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, and let me know what you think about the episode before it airs. And afterwards, you can drop in and we will be covering a full reaction of everything that went down on the episode too. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Thanks much. I'm JD. Peace. All right, guys. Yeah, what did you say? Tommy says Fisk is playing chess with Vanessa. Oh, 100%. 100%. And I mean, as much as Vanessa wants to act like she knows exactly what's going down, I don't think that she has the necessary experience, or at least not right now. She doesn't have the necessary experience to be able to call the shots on the level that Wilson is at right now. We're gonna meet Muse. Yeah, I think we've already met Muse. If unless I'm mistaken, I think the guy who went to go talk to I can't remember her name, but the therapist lady, and she gave him her card. I think that was Muse, just not in his Muse gear yet, because he was saying that he needed some therapy too. So